Why did Jesus give us priests? St. John Henry Newman put that question in a slightly different way, which really helps me understand it. He said, why didn't Jesus make angels his priests? They'd be much better. Angels, they're not sinners, they're really intelligent, they can move anywhere. Why didn't he just choose angels? It makes much more sense. Why did he choose sinful human beings? But then he goes on to say that there's a great wisdom in Christ's choice of choosing sinful human beings as his priests, because they carry on his human presence in the world. That God became a human being so we could relate to him, and he carries on that human presence through his priests, who he makes his instruments of his salvation. But also, there's something that a priest can offer that Jesus can't. That sounds quite strange, but it's true, because Jesus isn't and wasn't a sinner, but a priest is. And his experience of his own sin and of forgiveness can make him compassionate to fellow sinners. So what could have been an obstacle or a negative to choosing sinners as priests, Christ turns into a positive. That he makes the priest's own sinfulness and experience of mercy a positive, something that can help people come to Christ through the priest. And John Henry Newman says that actually it's a condition for being a priest to be a sinner. And he quotes the prayer that the priest said when he washes his hands in the Mass. You know, if you can't say that prayer, you can't be a priest. And you can't say that prayer unless you're a sinner, because it's a prayer asking for forgiveness. Wash me, O Lord, of my iniquity and cleanse me of my sin. So that idea of why God chooses sinful men to be priests is a great consolation and encouragement to me, because we all experience our sinfulness and weakness, but Christ chooses us not in spite of it, but because of it, which is quite a striking thing. He could do it all without us. We're not, strictly speaking, necessary in his plan, but he chooses us because it helps people come to him through fellow sinners. And it's a great privilege for the priest himself. As a priest, I have a front row seat to watch the grace of God in people's life, which is such a privilege. And priests have three main roles to carry on three main ways of loving of Christ. Christ's being a good shepherd, Christ's priesthood directly through the sacraments, and his preaching and teaching. And those three key things are given through the ministerial priesthood, but purely for the purpose of serving the baptized priesthood. Each baptized person has a share in Christ's priesthood, a different share from the ordained priest, but a real share that makes them able to sanctify everything they do and to share their faith with others. And my job as an ordained priest is to help the laity sanctify everything they do, their work, their social life, their family life, and to share their faith with others. My job is to help them be saints. And one way of doing that is through being a shepherd. And being a shepherd is a wonderful calling. One way that helps me understand it is the story of St. Peter, when he is called to put out into the deep and to pay out the nets. And Jesus says to him, put out into the deep, and he's speaking to Peter alone. And then he says, put out the nets in the plural with the help of others. And Peter gets it all wrong, because he doesn't even listen to the first bit, which is directed to him. And then he says, I will pay out the nets by myself. And of course it doesn't work, and his friends have to come and help him with the nets because there's so many fish. Peter doesn't get it at all, how Jesus wants him to be a leader. But he then did learn, because I think as a leader, there is something that only the leader can do. And it's to put out into the deep, it's to give a vision of where we're going in this community. But then the leader needs to delegate real responsibility to others, to pay out the nets together. And Peter got it the wrong way round. He ignored the bit that only he could do, and he tried to do the bit he should have delegated by himself. But I think it's a great wisdom in trying to respond authentically to that call to be a leader, to be a good shepherd, by following that call of Christ, to give vision. What picture of the future gives me passion now? How do I want this parish, this community to be? And then sharing that vision and calling others among the lay faithful, giving them real responsibility to make that vision a reality.